Money at Work Continuing Education Series. Last episode, we talked about identifying a poverty mindset. This episode centers around breaking the poverty cycle and the poverty mindset. Breaking poverty mindset is going to take effort, focus, and a willingness to self-reflect. However, it's entirely possible and it can produce some fantastic results in your life. Following these steps to realign your attitude towards money and wealth and to create a new mindset that attracts the abundance that you're looking for. Step one, you got to drop the negative language and words. To stop speaking the language of poverty, you need to remove negative references about money and wealth from your vocabulary. Many of these negative words and phrases will likely come from the family or the community in which you were raised. Examples include, this isn't for people like us. We can never afford that. And then more subtle references like, money doesn't grow on trees, which, is true. Nevertheless, it focuses on the lack of having. All of these examples place you in the role of the victim, a person who cannot control or shape their own financial destiny. Changing your language can change whether you achieve that abundant future that you're looking for. Step number two. Change your view of money and wealth. Changing how you see wealth itself is also a vital part of breaking the poverty cycle. In particular, you'll benefit from viewing money not from the perspective of someone who lacks and fears the lack of, but from the perspective of someone who welcomes money and actually expects to receive it. Visualization exercises can help a lot with this. For example, you can do daily visualizations in which you yourself are seeing manifesting money and the feeling of being happy, calm, and confident in that moment. The trick is to associate finances with opportunity, growth, and well-being rather than linking money with things like anxiety, jealousy, and insecurity. Step number three, you got to make a plan to achieve these goals. Making concrete plans is one of the most practical and empowering things that you can do in order to shed a poverty mindset. It involves moving away from the victim position instead of viewing yourself as someone who is capable of taking action and changing things. After all, creating plans involves becoming active rather than reactive. If you have a large goal and you feel intimidated by the idea of making a plan, try splitting it up into a series of smaller goals and then make a plan for each of what we call these sub goals. Each time you check or tick off a sub goal, allow yourself to feel proud of the progress and the steps that you're making towards the bigger goals. Step number four, you've got to learn to be a risk taker and you've got to get in the habit of growing your money and making investments. Nobody can really be sure if the risk will pay off, no matter how calculated it might be. But this should not stop you from taking risk. If you want to be successful in whatever you do, risks are going to be necessary. Progress always involves risk. You can't steal second base and keep your foot on first. A rich mindset is willing to invest resources with seemingly no reward right away. Most of the wealthiest men and women in the world today take their risk to put their resources in one or two investments generating a source of passive income. Investment is one of the most important aspects in breaking out of the poverty cycle. One of the mistakes most people make when it comes to making investments is they think they have to start with an army of funds. They suffer from that mentality of, not enough. I don't have enough money to invest. They believe if they aren't making $1,000 or $5,000 in investments at a time, they'll never become rich. However, armies are built one soldier at a time. So, that's the way you should approach your financial arsenal as well. I think many would consider, having a lot of money is rich, but all of this happened because of the right mindset and because someone takes the time and risks the money to make something in the long run that can change their life. Investing can be scary, but it's important not to let the fear stop you from taking control of your financial future. When you take the risk and make the investment today, down the road, what it looks like can be very, very impactful, and the positive ripple effect that you make from today's choices you'll see down the road. Life is inherently risky. There's only one big risk you should avoid at all costs, and that is the risk of doing nothing at all. And then step number 5, above all, you don't give up. Finally, don't ever give up on your manifestation dreams. Just because you didn't experience abundance in the past does not mean that you won't again in the future. Remember, past is not a leading indicator of the future. Trust the universe will help you to manifest your dreams at the optimal time for you, and accept that you are going to have many opportunities to create the lifestyle that you desire. When you feel disheartened or inclined to give up, refer back to one of those self-care strategies that you outlined in a previous step. Often, after some relaxation and rejuvenation, you'll find yourself ready to once again adopt the positive, wealth-attracting mindset that you need. Conclusion is really DDP. Don't die poor. They say that being born poor is your parents' fault, but dying poor is your fault. The statement is generally true, even though there are some exceptions. For instance, your environment can have a significant impact on how you end up in life. The research shows that most people who end up wealthy actually didn't grow up with much at all. This means that it's really up to us to determine how wealthy we become. Many people are born into poverty, but end up accumulating, large wealth, lots of riches. When we study the wealthy, we come to realize that certain patterns in their lifestyles evolve. Most wealthy people are actually business owners or high-earning professionals in various fields. They're hardworking men and women who have embraced frugal lifestyles throughout their lifetime. They've mastered the habit of saving from early on in their careers. They've regularly budgeted and reviewed their personal finances. They've invested, and they make their money work for them, and that's an essential part of wealth creation. They generally live simple lifestyles, unlike what's portrayed on social media and the media in general. The majority carry little to no debt. They're likely highly skilled in a particular trade. They have the abundance mindset. They believe they can thrive in whatever circumstances. They believe they can bounce back from failure. They are practical optimists who are willing to exploit the opportunities in front of them. So realize and then take action. They're patient and hardworking. They believe they're in charge of their own lives. They don't complain too much about the things happening around them. Rather, they use these issues to find ways to solve problems and then create solutions. They embrace change and they're continuously learning. They believe that they deserve a good life for themselves, their children, and they know that creating wealth is a worthwhile pursuit, and they bear most of the responsibility to assure that a good life for themselves and their families is created. By adopting these beliefs and practices, the wealthy are able to pass on their wealth to their children and avoid dying poor. You can have a change of mindset today and start practicing these steps and escape, whatever poor has been in your previous time in this life. You want more tips on personal finance, investments, money, millionaire habits, entrepreneurship, millionairemindset.life. Stretch your thinking, create your vision, and achieve.